I'm Stephanie Tharpe from Nashville, Tennessee. We have 7 stores in Nashville. Jim Mooney is with Devon Self-Storage, and we're competitors, y'all. Isn't that exciting?
Yes. In the same market. We have a couple.
Jim and I are very good friends. We think a lot alike, so we are so excited to present to you today some great ideas, and hopefully you'll take something away with you. I'll let you roll it.
Cool. Okay, so inquiries. You know, how effectively are your managers logging inquiries every time they walk in? Because let's face it, we spend a lot of money as organizations to make your phone ring, to make somebody walk in your front door. And if the manager doesn't do a good job capturing information or securing the sale then, how are they going to follow up on it? So how much are you guys currently spending for each lead? Do you guys know? Anybody?
There's somebody. $99 to $100 she's spending.
Good.
We're averaging about $65 per lead in Nashville, what we're spending on with our website, Google AdWords, things like that. If you don't know what you're spending, that's a number you need to find out, because you got to know what that lease is worth. You're going to go over that too, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
$60 per lead, and then what do you think for an actual move-in?
So it's about $65 for our leads turned to leases is what we're spending right now.
Okay. So, how many, by a show of hands, how many here have a good tracking system they use to track their daily, weekly, monthly inquiries? Good, good. So on the screen we put an idea of what we consider a decent closing percentage. Stephanie, you were saying earlier your goal is 90% for your walk-ins?
We like to see a 90% conversion rate on walk-ins, because once somebody actually comes in that store, my managers are trained to sell that store, and that's what we like to see. So by tracking that number, we know if 30 people walk through the door and they only close 4 of those, there's a problem. So that's why it's important to track those people coming through the door. Same with the phones.
Phones and call. How many here are using a call center? Okay, it's very important to track those numbers. And online, again, would be any lead aggregators like a Sparefoot or Storage.com or any of those, you know. So we want to make sure we're able to track them and know what we're doing and what we're spending on. So, let's do the math. If you say each rental is worth $100, what would 3 more rentals a month do for your property over the course of a year? And if you look at the numbers on the screen, $300 a month, if the length of stay is 9 months, which is light for industry standards, times 12 months a year, $32,000 just by 3 more rentals per month.
And like we said, tracking that is how you know. So if you look at last April and you see that your store had 30 rentals, what I tell my managers is, okay, let's beat that number this year in April. I'm not going to compare February to March. I'm not going to compare March to June, because first, second, third, fourth quarters are always going to bring and yield different numbers. So you really want to track with the history of your property from the same month from the year before, same quarter from the year before, to kind of see where you're falling there.
Okay, mystery shopping and call centers. How many of you guys are using a mystery shop company or doing mystery shops yourself? Good, good show of hands. For me, it's a great way to get an outside perspective on what we're doing. We're all guilty of it. We have our favorite managers that we think they do a great job. But when you look at it from an outsider perspective and get a different view, maybe we're missing something or we need a little more.
We use mystery shopping. It is a wonderful training tool. I preach to my managers all the time how to answer the phone, how to greet the customer, how to sell all the stuff. When they hear it from me 100 times and then they get a professional evaluation sent to them with a recording of their phone call, that's a real eye-opener. Are you guys mystery shopping, your managers? Nobody? There's a few.
Okay.
It's a really great training tool. I had my first owner years ago was in Texas, and he had me mystery shopped every single month. And if I got lower than a 96, I was livid with myself. And I was also livid that he shopped me for 2 years. But it was the best training tool I ever had, and that's why I was able to close. I closed 90% on phones because we tracked everything, 100% on walk-ins. So if you're not doing mystery shopping, it's not expensive. It is worth every penny, and it's a great eye-opener for your managers as well.
I can add to that. We do our physical shops. We actually hire them to go in and shop the manager. And the manager can do a fantastic job. They score 85, 90. We added one part about a year ago to the shop. If it does not get logged into the software, it's an automatic 0. Which goes back to our initial topic about inquiries and making sure they're logging them. So it's really an eye-opener when a manager gets a really good shop and they forget to do the most critical part for us, logging it in so we can follow up with them, and it becomes a 0. So, call centers. How many people here use a call center? Okay. We personally, Devin uses a call center, and we are on an all-call program, so all our calls go to the call center. Because let's face it, most people are shopping earlier and later, and if you're not there to answer the phone, they're going to go to the next person. By having a call center, they're going to answer it for us and hopefully stop the shopping if they do a good enough job to capture the reservation.
Another thing too is if my manager's with a customer that I've already paid, you know what we said, $99, $65 to get them in the door, I don't necessarily want them stepping away to answer the phone. We do not use call centers. We have been highly recommended, and that is something we're looking to do this year because if I have a manager with a customer, I don't want her to answer the phone, and I don't want it to go to voicemail. So even though we're not using, people like Jim have told us how great they are, so our intention is to do that.
Again, guys, it's everything works for me, works for something might not work for you, but at least look at it and investigate it because they're there for a reason. And think about personally, when you call someplace and you don't get somebody, do you leave a message? Probably not. You go on to the next one. So take that mentality, put yourself in the customer's shoes some days. Okay, we talked earlier about inquiry tracking. This is just a snapshot of reports that we do internally. So we can tell how many calls come in every month, how many walk-ins, online rentals, wherever they come from. Plus we also know how many of those in each category close. So this is how we're able to track our closing percentage by avenue. And we also compare to how many, like Stephanie said earlier, we compare the inquiries this year versus last year. So we know if we're up, we're down, we're sideways, and we want to make sure we have good closing percentages. Now the stores listed are a wide range. We have some smaller stores and we have some big stores. So the numbers in the markets are going to vary. So it's just something we use on a regular basis to track our activity.
And one thing I'll say about Nashville, Tennessee, we have 100 people a day moving into our area. So we also have a huge amount of competition starting as of last July coming in. So even though we've had 3 years of really fantastic numbers and high rates, we're having to change our game this year. So this stuff, going back to the basics, is very, very important. And I need my managers focus on, let's go back to, competing with dollar move-ins. Unfortunately, we are. That may not be your market, but that's our market, and that's what we're doing right now. Yeah. And I know you guys can see those. Sorry about that.
Nashville, we have 2 new competitors in the last 6 months open within 2 miles of our facility. Yeah. But because certain things we're doing with tracking and Google Analytics and keywords and all that stuff, we haven't had a major effect yet, but we're watching it closely. Merchandise. This is your favorite.
I love merchandise. You know why? Because how many of you have had to get an old mattress and try to figure out how to get rid of it because somebody left it? I saw one hand.
No, there's more than that. Okay.
Yeah, let's tell the truth here. Everybody stores mattresses, and so that's such a great opportunity when you're out showing the unit and you're talking to that customer and they say, well, I've got a king-size bed. Well, here, I've got this great mattress cover. It's not just locks, it's boxes, it's packing supplies, it's tape. I think a lot of us neglect the fact that they're there to see us as a professional. We're the one that's going to recommend. It's an inconvenience for them to run somewhere else and grab them when they're standing in your office. So that's kind of how I feel. I love box sales and retail sales.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, when you talk about mattresses, one of my favorite lines when I was a store manager was, that mattress is going to hit the ground somewhere. It's inevitable. It's going to, and usually it's going to be a rainy day and there's going to be a puddle involved. So, a couple questions we got up here. What does your display rack look like? Do you guys actually look like you're selling merchandise?
How many look like, where's the picture? Oh, it's the next one.
Next one. We can skip
How many look like this? Admit it. Be truthful. Oh, I'm so impressed that people are raising their hands. Okay, now you can go back.
And we'll go back. How many of you guys know, by show of hands, what your lock penetration is every month on your rentals? Okay, I got a couple hands going up. Good. Yeah. Kits and bundles. I love to offer kits and bundles as a discount for people because you're again, customer perception, we're saving them money.
Yes.
We're making them buy more stuff, but we're saving them money.
I had a thought,
Go ahead.
but I forgot. Oh, yes. So one thing we started doing, and I may be jumping ahead here, but one thing we started doing last year, which I thought was really, really cool, was I told my managers that instead of a retail target to hit, I wanted them to hit a sale per ticket. So if you had 30 move-ins and I wanted your sale per ticket to be $15 or $30 or $25, so that's how they're doing it now. And we had, I had a manager this past year, and she's sitting right here in the front row. The Tennessee Self-Storage Manager of the Year is right here, y'all. She's my 4th manager to get that award, and I'm very proud of that in the state of Tennessee. But she sold over $10,000 in sales last year. Her average ticket was $36 and some change. That's a big deal. If you go look at your numbers and see where that falls, that's pretty impressive. So, yay, Michelle.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Had to brag on her.
And just important, what does your lease say about securing your unit at the time of rental? It says you got to have a lock. You got to secure it. So you're just enforcing the rules, policies of your lease that they got to buy a lock at the time. How many people here have rented a unit to somebody and they didn't put a lock on that day, they came back 2 days later and they moved into the wrong unit?
Yes.
How much of a pain is that? But by buying a lock at the time of rental, you walk them out, they put it on, it's secure. That's going to cut that in half.
It's a great idea to actually take the lock with you when you're showing the unit, because when they fall in love with it, which they will because you've done such a wonderful sales presentation and they love you so much, you say, you know what, for your convenience, I'm going to go ahead and throw this lock on here right now. And
we've taken an approach, we actually go out with 2 locks and a clipboard and say, okay, which one of these do you want? We have a pair of scissors with us. They can pick the lock, we cut it open, we put it right on, go back and do the lease.
How many have cylinder locks? Aren't those wonderful? Because everyone has to buy one.
It's amazing.
Yeah, love those.
So we saw this. Locks are the easiest access. Easiest. You want to stay stocked.
Yeah, unlike that picture, when you go to the grocery store, ladies or gentlemen, and it's sold out of everything, you want your shelves to be full. You want them to be stocked. You want prices to be very visible. I can't stand to shop and not see a price of something. Well, how much is this? I don't want to ask the manager. I want a price tag on it. And also make sure there's no dust. How long has it been since you dusted the top shelves? Mattress covers that are full of dust. I see it every time I do an audit. That's the first thing I do is I'm running my fingers along those mattress covers to see how dusty it is. I want it to be clean, sharp. Rearrange it. Have fun with your retail. Don't just leave everything the same. It's fun to go into work and then you go, oh yeah, we rearranged. I forgot. Now it looks so good. That's fun and exciting to do too.
How many of your showrooms look like this?
Yes.
Big difference when you walk in, it actually looks like you have something to sell.
Even if you just have a tiny, tiny space. We had a store in Franklin, Tennessee that had literally an office the size of this stage. But she had it stocked and decorated up so cute in displays that she was our highest retail seller with the smallest showroom. She did so well, we sold her 4 years ago. So even if you don't have a big showroom like this, you can still get really creative with your displays and making sure they look good and professional.
There's an old retail line, that was my background, retail. If they can't see it, they're not going to buy it. True. So how many of you guys take advantage when you're on the phone with a customer and really mention that you got boxes and locks and covers? Because it's amazing, when people are looking for storage unit, they're going to put stuff in there. They probably haven't even thought about how they're going to pack or what they're going to pack it in. The golden opportunity, another reason to get them off the phone and in the front door. Because as we know, Stephanie, what's your closing percentage on walk-ins?
100.
Get them off the phone.
And the thing of it is, on our mystery shops, we actually added that question to see if our managers are mentioning it, and if they don't, they lose points. Mm-hmm. So on the mentioning packing supplies and locks. That's a great thing.
So, listen to the calls. How many of you guys listen to your manager's calls if they're recorded? Okay.
That's great.
On the screen, I got a prime example. We had a customer in Maryland about 4 years ago. called up. They were coming in from out of town. The parents had passed away suddenly. They had to pack up an entire house, and they wanted to do it in a weekend. My manager did a great job getting them off the phone to come in to rent a unit. Never once did he mention packing supplies. So when she went to rent the big orange truck to move it, they sold her all the packing supplies. So we lost out roughly $150 sale because we didn't mention we have it too.
Lost opportunities.
Go ahead.
Can anyone tell us what this is? Does anyone know how you use it? Oh, yay!
Yeah, we got it. All right. And this is from experience from me, okay? I can tell you firsthand, you get hit with a dresser drawer when you're carrying it down the steps, or your china cabinet glass door swings open and cracks you in the head, or worse, it shatters. You shrink wrap these things. People use tape all the time, and tape leaves residue and all that stuff behind. Shrink wrap them shut. It's quick, it's simple.
A lot of managers are afraid to sell shrink wrap. They don't know how to sell it, and it is such a great thing to wrap your furniture in. My mover, I have a mover that's moved me for the last 8 years every time I've moved, and he uses it for everything. He wraps all that stuff. So when you start explaining to customers what shrink wrap's for, because in their mind they're thinking, I need bubble wrap for china, and I need tape and boxes, but this is great. And shrink wrap is a great seller, and it's a good retail item. We retail it for like $30, so, and people buy it.
Yeah, the big roll is expensive.
Big rolls, yeah.
Absolutely. And the little roll, I actually learned something from over the other day. If you have some decorative wood chairs, stuff like that, they would put a piece of cardboard and wrap the legs around. That way you protect the legs from getting damaged when they're moving. So we're always still learning. I know I am. That's why I come to these things.
We're shrink wrap fans. Kits and bundles are great. Moving kits you can buy from box suppliers. In Nashville, we actually have a supplier that makes them for us. So we have a kit that we sell for a certain price, includes a bunch of boxes, markers, things like that. Jim's idea of selling bundles, I absolutely love. So you can buy, I think it's on his couple screens later.
Yeah. We actually have a college town where we actually created a student special. They get 4 small, 4 medium, a roll of tape, and a marker, and it's like $18. But when we get the student kid coming in to move, hey, you want the box special? So there's your $20 in retail right there, plus a lock, so now we're at 30.
Yeah, and I have a manager now that she sells cylinder locks, so we sell those for $15. So she'll say for $10 more, you can get 2 large, 2 medium, 2 smalls, and she sells a bundle for $25, and that's how she gets that ticket average up. I'm just saying. Just saying.
We talked earlier about locks. This is actually out of one of our leases, where it says that occupants shall provide at own expense a lock deemed sufficient to secure the space. So it's right in the lease that they need to provide a lock. So
Awesome.
if your lease doesn't have it, look into it. There's a lot, Jeffrey's here and other people here that will review leases for you. Jeffrey's done it for me a couple times, and
He's done it for us too.
it's huge.
So let's look at numbers for retail sales. This is a store I pulled for 2016, and based on retail sales of $950 per month, the cost of goods was $5,700. We pay a 20% commission to our managers for all their retail sales, so that cost was $2,280, giving me a profit of $3,420. I made $285 a month, and the manager made $190 a month. That's a great split. Retail is the easiest thing in the world to mark up. It's the easiest thing for you to make a profit back on, and it's a great way to share with your managers too, and it doesn't really cost you any money, and they sell more product if you're paying them some commission. Some people have levels when they'll pay, or they pay 10%. I don't really care how you do it, but you should definitely incentivize your managers because they're the ones selling that product for you.
Right.
So that's, retail sales of $11,000 in a year, that's pretty good.
Yeah. We pay our commission, our monthly bonus, our bonuses are paid monthly, so it's not a 6 month or a year, so it's tangible. The manager knows they sell it in January, they're going to get it in their February check.
That's what we do too. Same thing.
Yeah,
monthly.
same thing. So.
Something you're not taking into consideration is the cost of storing boxes. Are you just assuming that your inventory is kept in your leasing office?
Okay, what she's asking is the cost of us storing those goods. On your property, you should have a storage place designated for that. We have storage units called company units or offices. In our new builds, we are actually building rooms right off the office that are specifically for the golf cart, for the moving supplies and things like that. Does anyone not have a storage unit they're using for your company? Yeah, that's just, you know, we just put it.
I mean, that's not revenue.
That's true. You could maybe stock less and store it in your showroom, but it's so minuscule to me that I don't really keep track of that because the retail sales pay for themselves. But, you know, put it in the same unit with your golf cart. You know, make it a multi-use space that you're using is what I would advise personally.
And if you maintain your inventory levels so you're not sitting on 1,000 small boxes when you sell like 25 a month, you know, some of that pays off too. So on the screen, this is I did an analysis for a portfolio on lost revenue on lock sales. This is a portfolio of about 50 stores. And you can see, you know, over the course of a year, $57,000 they lost in revenue by not selling locks. Now, you know, some people say, well, that's not a whole lot of money, but when you put it on you start looking at a 4 cap or a 5 cap for your property, what the value that adds to your property goes a long way. So they're there. We know they need a lock because they're not going to leave their unit open. We have the opportunity in front of us. And again, this is just another internal tracking tool we use. So we know how many rentals. We do back out the parking spots because, you know, you're not going to put a lock on a camper. So we back out the parking. So we know how many total units we rented, how many locks we sold, what our percentage was. Then we also look, like Stephanie said earlier, our merchandise sales per transaction. And we also add on here our insurance numbers, just as a caveat. But we want to track, and we put this in front of the managers every month, that they know. I had a boss years ago, his favorite saying was, people respect what you inspect. And if you keep it in front of the managers, you will see definite changes. If you don't, then that's a different conversation. But most managers want to do the job and they want to do it the right way. So by you giving them the tools and showing that we're watching it, you'll definitely see some action.
I agree. Let's talk about fees. This is one of my favorite things to talk about too. I like to make money, can y'all tell? Okay, so first of all, you need to have a very good rental agreement that specifically lists your fees that you're charging. I hear different owners and different managers talk about how they make a lot of revenue on late fees. I'm not against that, but this is just additional revenue. So late fees are the number one fee. A lien fee, we charge a cleaning fee, and that's a 1 hour minimum at $35 to whatever it actually, you know, is. 24-hour access fee, we charge for that. What we have found is if someone comes in and they say, well, I want 24-hour access, and we say, well, okay, that's $10 a month. Oh, well, I don't really need it. Okay, fine, you don't need to be here at 2 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, you've got folks that you're going to give 24-hour access, you know, like RV people and fishermen that want to get out at 4 o'clock in the morning, your commercial accounts. But for the most part, 24-hour access can be a little bit of a moneymaker for you. Admin fees, how many do charge an admin fee? Yeah. Same thing, advertising fee. When you sell something, you should be charging that advertising fee. Invoice fee. Back in the day, believe it or not, people used to not have email addresses. And so trying to get everyone over to email invoicing, we started charging an invoice letter fee of like $2, $3, I think it's like $50 now, I'm kidding. So an invoice fee, there's no reason for your manager to be licking stamps and sending that stuff out, just email it. NSF fees, obviously we have to charge those because the bank charges us for that. ACH draft is also treated as an NSF if it comes back insufficient funds. My bank charges me for that as well. Cut lock fees. If you come up and you want me to cut your lock, I'm not doing it for free. We're going to charge for that. If I have to cut your lock because I got to inventory your unit for an auction, I'm charging you for that as well. Dumping fees. No vacate notice fees. If they don't give you a vacate notice as per your lease, if you require 10 days or 15 days, you can charge a fee for that as long as it's in your rental agreement. Written default fees. Auction cancellation. I make fees up, y'all, and you know, you just charge them.
There's a couple I haven't heard of on that list, so yeah.
I said I gave y'all some ideas right there. It was worth coming in here for this session. Auction cancellation fees. Some auction companies charge you, some don't. I don't care. I pass that on to the customer. They charge me $20. I'm charging that customer $30. I'm gonna make money on the fees. So that's where fees can really, and we're going to throw up some numbers here in a minute to kind of show you a year snapshot of what happens with fees.
So waiving fees. Who here waives late fees regularly? Be honest.
Tell the truth.
Okay. My question is why? It's part of the lease, and realistically, if you look at it, your lease says you're going to charge them if they're late. By you waiving the late fee, you're basically breaking your own lease. You know, are we doing everything we can to avoid this? You know, sending out invoices, using texting features for customers to pay, sending out friendly reminder emails. By the time, if one of my managers comes to me and says, hey, you know, I got Jennifer wants me to waive their late fee because they forgot about it. No, they got an invoice ahead of time.
But Jim, wait. Angie called and she lost her job and she's got cancer and her husband just died. Can't we waive a late fee?
No.
Sorry.
Because I always go back to the manager with this principle. You know, if I'm going to do it for Michelle, and then Rick calls me 2 hours later and says, hey, can you waive my late fee? And I say no to him, now I'm quote unquote discriminating.
Exactly.
So if you have a policy, you don't do it, it makes life a lot easier. So, again, this is a software settings. I'm sorry, we have a question back there. I'm sorry? Is it acceptable?
Are you taking deposits for all your rentals? How many are doing that?
Don't.
Well, we don't because our competitors don't. So if you're doing that, I think that's great. I would not tie late fees into a deposit, though. I would not tie that together. That's a totally separate thing. You know, if they move out and they owe you those fees, then you would be able to deduct those from a deposit. But just every month, they're going to start running a tab on you. Oh, just put that on my tab. You know, I've got that deposit, and you don't know that they're not going to leave a what in your unit? A mattress for you to have to throw away.
Right.
So I would not tie those two together.
And for those of you taking deposits, you need to check with your state and local rules because sometimes you have to put that money into an interest-bearing fund.
Yes, you do.
And you have to pay them back interest on their deposit. So we don't do deposits because it's more of a nightmare for us. We would rather charge an administration fee and we have the clean-out fees at the end if they don't go. It's just an accounting nightmare for 49 stores. If I had, 1,000 people move out last month and I got to have my corporate office cut $1,025 deposit checks, they would hate me.
Yeah,
So
back in the day, years ago in Nashville, because we're Music City, and my partner is a musician, he thought it'd be really fun to have band rehearsal spaces. I will tell you from my experience to never, ever, ever do that because
No.
the bands like to bring their friends and their beer and their cigarettes, and it was a nightmare. And we did take deposits on those because we thought, well, they're vesting a little bit of money. We did have to hold those in an account, and it had to be recorded. And then once they did move out, we returned the deposit. And
So-
anyway, I'm against that completely.
Sir.
If you take a cleaning fee, how do you get paid for it if they've already moved out?
Okay, he asked if you take a cleaning fee. In your lease deal, it's going to say cleaning fee, say it's $35. 90% of the time, you're not going to get your money. I'm just being honest, you're not. But if you've got that wonderful credit card on file, you can try to run it. A lot of times, I've had customers that didn't clean a unit, the manager hits their card, they're on the phone immediately, someone that wouldn't call us for the last 90 days, they're on the phone immediately, and we're going, well, you get up here by 5 o'clock and clean it out, we'll void that transaction or we'll credit you back. But that's just the real honest answer. It's rare, but we have been able to get it before, so it's not impossible.
For me, it's more of a deterrent, so they know that we can
Right.
do this. So it's kind of like on our system, and it's come to deterrent. So sorry to digress from the deposits, but software settings. Most of the software out there has the ability for us to limit amounts of credits you can issue per customer, by manager. There's a lot out there. So if you're not using it, take a look at it. I'm sure we all have that one customer that the manager, they love us and they're always late. And if you start looking at ledgers and you can start seeing that this guy hasn't paid a late, he's late every month, but he hasn't paid a late fee. There's no incentive for him to pay because he knows we're going to leave it anyway.
Exactly. So here's a store I pulled in 2016. And what they collected kind of broke down. So in late fees, they collected over $10,000, lien charges $2,200, cut lock fees $1,800, and admin fees $6,000. So year to date, that was $20,000 collected from one store in a year, which is about $1,674 per month. Divide that by a cap rate at 6%, and that is an added value of $334,000 to the value of your property. If you flip that, and that manager waived all those fees, now look how much money you left laying on the table that the manager waived. So if you're not looking at your totals for the year, look at that stuff and look at your cap rates and see the value that it truly, truly adds to the bottom line of your property.
Again, as we talked about, software can help. It limits the amount of individuals manager can credit. And basically, managers say, I'm sorry, sir, I can't, my system will not allow me to waive your late fee. Put it back on the computer. Technology. Set restrictions per tenant ledger. We had put a policy in place about 2 years ago that every customer was entitled to one late fee that got waived. Well, we had one manager took that to heart, so he waived the late fee for everybody. Well, you said they can have one. No, that's the exception rather than the rule. So you want to make sure that when you put a policy in place for this, the managers who, especially for me, and I know for Stephanie, they're the heart and soul for us. They don't see us. The customers see our managers. They're our face of the company. They're the ones they deal with every day. We need to make sure we give them the best tools possible so they can do the job as effectively as possible. Your favorite.
I don't like these.
I know, but who here offers move-in specialists? I should probably see every hand in the room go up.
Raise your
All right.
hand. You're doing it.
So everybody's got them. They're on websites, and the customer walks in and wants to know what the specials are. Does every unit require a special? Fill in the blank. No, does not.
I got to tell a Bob Copper story here.
There you go.
This is my favorite Bob Copper story, and he tells it. If any of you've heard him talk, he said the girls at the manager's at the facility. It's 5 till 5. She closes at 5. Guy pulls up in a 26-foot U-Haul, just packed to the top. Runs in and says, "Oh my God, I need a unit right now." And she goes, "Okay, well let me give you half off your first month." What? Yeah, just threw it out. No,
Yes.
I would fire her. Bob Copper fired her. No, I'm kidding. He fires everybody, but I would fire her because
At least twice.
Yeah, okay, let me give you half off. No, oh my gosh.
Is Bob speaking today? If you guys have never heard Bob Copper, when you see his name on a thing, he's been in the business. It's probably since Moses was around.
You said it, not me.
But he's really good. He's got a lot of knowledge. I mean, I've learned so much from Bob. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And the next one, employee to butt discount, and that's again Bob. Butt discount. They don't get one unless their butt's walking out the front door.
Sorry.
It's true. You've heard them. We like to have fun
Y'all,
if you can't
we learned
tell.
how to give a butt discount at ISS.
So, and again, I know there are discounts across the board. Dollar pays, public storage started $1, well, God, years ago. And most people do that. I've run into people, one guy, he was doing, believe it or not, 50% off the first 6 months.
Oh my gosh, no.
And I'm like, can I buy your store? Because you're losing it. So you have to, again, simple math, 30 units, $100 a unit. If 25% of them get a move-in special, okay, 22 customers paid full rate. Even if they get a partial, if they're, we're all in first of the month billing, so everything prorates as you go through, you're talking about $1,100 additional in the bank because we didn't give moving specials. Not everybody needs one. Like when they pull up with the U-Haul truck,
Right.
they would get the most expensive unit I got.
My managers despise giving discounts, so when competitors came in and we had to start doing it, I have to pull their teeth to get them to do it because they get a commission every month based on the bottom line of all the revenue that came in the store, and they're like, I'm not doing that. That's money out of my pocket. I'm like, no, you have to, because if you don't rent it, and unfortunately with competitors, we're seeing that. Bob has a great thing that he says too, that people don't care what they pay for the rental rate. They only care what they have to pay today to move in. So he also says the REITs are a whole lot smarter than we are, and they've done all of this research, and we can't reinvent the wheel that they've already made very successful. So those are things to think about when you're doing discounts. Just know how to qualify them. Be careful. Are we going to run the risk of some delinquency issues? Yes, probably, because if someone moves in for $1, there's a good chance they're not ever going to pay you again, and they're going to book out of the state. So you got to balance it out, but we are doing it now. I don't know in your markets, but in my market, we're having to compete that way again, and we're trying to do it really smart by, requiring they purchase a lock from us, and insurance, which we'll talk about here in a few more minutes.
Question.
You're requiring them to pay for the second month of event.
If we do, no, if it's $1 moving, it's $1 moving. Is that what, is that,
Yeah.
okay.
No.
You can do, the guy who does my marketing for us and does our stuff on the website says, I want to put restrictions on things like, okay, I'll give you your first month for $1, but you got to stay for 90 days. And he said, folks don't really like that they're going to go on to the next one. And one thing that everyone needs to know is really quickly, let's talk about millennials. Do you guys know millennials are now 34 years old? I have a 31-year-old daughter who's married, works at a hospital, has a wonderful husband and 2 children. That is my customer now. So we want to make it very, very simple for millennials. If they don't see what they want on your site in 3 seconds, they're gone to the next one. But I think everyone has a perception that they're 20 years old and they're idiots, and they're not. They're your customer today, seriously. So,
Yeah, cool.
sorry.
Okay, referrals. We love them. Free advertising for us. Best word of mouth you got is your existing or your previous customers. How many here have a referral program in place at their facility?
Very good.
Very nice.
Nice. Yeah, referrals are just number one. Best, word of mouth is the best.
A couple bullet points on here, coupons on the counter, direct email campaigns. There's a lot of ways you can do referrals. I'm going to skip ahead a slide here. Again, 21% of all rentals at Devon Self Storage last year came from a referral and or a repeat customer. That's a huge number.
Don't you love it when you had a great customer that stored with you for a year and then they left and then they come back? How many have had that repeats? They're wonderful. That is the best customer.
Yep.
Another thing we like is when they come in and they give us a credit card and they leave and we never see them again until they move out. That's my favorite customer right there.
Or the guy.
Sorry.
Okay, these are just a couple options we've done in our organization over the years. One is, the top one is a referral certificate they get when they move in. So we hand them one right away. Say, hey, you know anybody else who needs storage? $25 off your next month's rent. Second one we've done, we actually go through periodically and we will email existing customers a $25 one, or we actually have a $50 one, depending on, not to exceed the cost of the rent. So if the rent's only $35, they're going to get a month. They wouldn't get a credit next month. But these are things we do on a regular basis that we will periodically just email out to our existing tenants saying, hey, you need another unit? You know somebody who wants a unit? Great word of mouth.
Another thing we do is every time a new rental comes in, my manager sends a thank you email. Number one, it verifies the email address. And number two, it's just a nice touch. Don't y'all, you got software that does that. You get thank you for your business. And it says, earn free rent, ask us about the referral. So that's a good way to talk and market to that customer immediately as soon as they move in.
We also target to our previous customers, people who've moved out. We do a quarterly blast from our corporate office. Via Constant Contact, we send out thousands upon thousands of these things to people who were previous tenant. Says, hey, do you need storage again? Welcome back. Here, we'll give you a free month off for your first rent. If you get
only send that to your really good customers.
Yeah, you want to exclude your auction customers, absolutely. But if you can get 2 or 3, for a portfolio size of ours, 49, if we can get 10 customers in a month, it paid for the Constant Contact program, hands down. So not only your current customers are great resources, but people who have left that are good standing customers are another great source. They might not need it, but you know what? They might have their neighbor or their sister or their brother who wants one, can come take advantage of it.
Exactly.
Insurance. Show of hands here. How many people here are offering tenant insurance?
Bravo.
Very nice.
Yes.
Show of hands, how many of you is it a requirement of your lease?
Yes.
Okay, for the ones that put their hands down, look into that because it protects, and we're going to go into this in a little bit, but you're on.
It's another great source of revenue. And I'm just going to tell you, I have a store that in 2017 sold $70,000 worth of tenant insurance. Her penetration is 94% of her customers are enrolled. My managers average 8 out of 10 that they're enrolling in the insurance. And we're going to talk about this in a minute a little bit. I can't emphasize this enough. Make sure you're compliant with your state laws. We have to have a limited license in Tennessee, which we do have. So check with your provider, make sure that you're legal and all that good stuff. But it is a great source of revenue, and it puts an extra layer of protection. We'll talk about that. But make sure it's in your lease. Obviously, it's going to be in your lease.
Yep.
And a lot of times, customers, you know, if their unit gets broken into, they're going to go to the manager, who's their buddy, and say, "You got to fix this," and they're going to want you to pay. And I've had many conversations with customers, and they don't understand their responsibility for taking care of their valuables, and that's what we call it, valuables. Treasures. So make sure that your managers and you managers are educated on that product and you know what the benefits are of it, so that way you can inform your customer so they can make that really good decision. Because if they only took out $2,000 and now all of a sudden grandma's diamond ring's worth $20 million are in that unit, they didn't have enough coverage. And then there are also limits to that as well. And then that goes to your valuation. And so anyway, I can talk about it forever.
Yep.
These are some great pictures that we found. Everyone thinks this is never going to happen. Has anyone ever had a tornado hit your property? You guys are
Back there,
lucky.
over
We got
here.
one person.
Two, one back there.
Two. I'm telling you what, I live in Tennessee and tornadoes scare me. Yep. So you don't think it'll happen, but you never know.
Yep. Ooh. Hit the wrong button.
What
How many
about
ever had a fire?
fires? Anybody had a fire?
Not fun, is it?
Sorry, I had to. There was a robbery at a certain storage unit that made the news.
Yeah.
Any break-ins. All things out of your control. You guys have no control over all this.
Yeah. This is actually one of my facilities in Maryland back in, I don't know when it was. We had a customer rent a center, rented a unit. Their guys were moving furniture back and forth. Guy's got a cigarette in his mouth, drops it in the sofa. We lost 22 10 by 20s. They went up like that. I have a picture of a car. Anybody ever see a car melt? I got one. Yeah, we saw it. It was not pretty.
So laws vary from state to state. Make sure you're in compliance. There are several providers, and when you guys go to the trade show later tonight, you're going to see them. If you're not offering, or just go talk to them. The insurance providers here at the show are amazing. There's one in our audience right now. I'm not going to look at that person right now, but I just love them. So, okay, I'm looking at her now. But anyway, please go by and talk to them. Got some great products out there. So with your tenant insurance programs, you want to make sure that you educate your employees. One thing that I hear over and over from our provider is that when they're trying to talk an owner into carrying it, they get a lot of feedback from managers that don't want to do it. So the last time I checked, the manager didn't own my property.
How many times have you heard my customers won't like that?
My customers won't like that.
Yeah.
I don't care. You don't have $4, $5, $6 million invested in this property. So you've got to educate those employees as to why it's important, how it protects them, and how it protects their customer.
Yep.
Did you skip on me?
Nope.
Go back. Yes. Benefits your customer. You had a fire. Were you sitting out there with the checkbook writing checks to everyone?
No.
Did they expect that?
Yes.
Exactly.
It was a very, traumatic. Thankfully, of the 22 units we lost, 17 of them had insurance. We were dealing with 5. And of course, guess how many of those 5 were a royal pain? All 5. It was our fault. We set the fire. We did it purposely just to inconvenience them.
And the providers out there do a great job of training your staff and explaining it. No one explains it better than they do. So once our managers understood and we tracked, we implemented 4 years ago doing it. My managers are great at it because they understand the benefit, and they love the fact that when someone walks in their office and something's happened, they just hand them a brochure and say, "You need to call this number, here you go." And that's it, we're done.
Yep. So let's recap. You know, we talked about a lot of stuff today and a lot of different things you could do. My goal for me, anytime I speak, and I'm sure Stephanie's the same way, if you guys take back one thing we said and implement it, and it improves your facility, then it's a win for us. You know, increasing rent by $3 a month. You know, reduce use of specials, reduce the late fees waived, lock sales at 90%. I mean, these are huge numbers that for the owners and the properties and all, it makes a big difference. And I mean, we've all seen a lot of nice growth in NOI over the last couple of years and revenue. Market's slowing down a little bit, but if we do things like this, we'll still see a nice growth because we are now tapping into sources that we've overlooked or passed in the past. So we have an opportunity to do this.
And if you notice, we're not talking about rental rates and rates because this is a whole different ballgame. Rental rates is something we haven't even touched on. But this is what you can do besides rental rates. And I do want to encourage you guys as you're going through the sessions today, please write your questions down and ask them tonight at the Q&A. And I don't know how much time we have.
Got about 5 minutes.
Okay, so we've got about 5 minutes. Does anyone have questions?
There's one.
So if you're selling insurance, would you often sell insurance up to that dollar amount?
Okay, so are you talking about the limitation of value in your lease? Okay, so that's a great question. She's talking about the limitation of value in your lease. Basically, if you read that part of your lease, it should say they can't store more than that without insuring it on their own. So then you have to talk to your provider. I think ours goes up to $75,000. Michelle, is that right? $75,000? Oh, $20,000. I'm sorry, my bad. It goes up to $20,000 in coverage. So as long as they see that that's in your lease, that's a great question to ask a lawyer later. Like there's a legal Q&A later. When is it?
Yeah.
Because I'm not a lawyer. I'll tell you that right now.
Question over here.
Have y'all played around with the referral fee and seeing at $25 how much you get and at $50 how much you get?
Okay, great question. The question was, have we played around with the referral fee? We've done a lot of stuff. We've done 20% off. We've done $25. We've done $50. It depends on the market. Some things work well here in California, but it might not work as well in Texas. So again, it's your program. You can do what you want. I would try something, and if you got a couple stores in the same market, do an A/B test. Try one here and one there. But again, a lot of it, no matter what we put out there, it goes back to the manager on the site. If the manager's not promoting and talking about it, it goes
And one
away.
thing I'll add to that is I've heard at these conferences many times is the $25 and the referral credit, not to do that, to give them cold hard cash. You can also get gift cards that you can track to have at your desk. So if someone does give you a referral, it's not just your customers, it's apartment managers. We didn't hit on that, but my managers go out and visit apartments and take them bagels, and they love it, and they refer back and forth. Competitors are nice to each other. And so we'll take them a $50 gift card just for sending us a lease because we appreciate it, and guess what? They'll keep sending them.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'm finding at this point that the $50 in cash, totally separate from your software tracking, is working very well for us.
Yeah. Back here.
Yes.
I'm sorry? Mm-hmm. Case by case, it'll be. The question was, do we do anything different for our referral customers or repeat customers? We will sometimes waive an admin fee, but again, they're going to pay it anyway. They need the unit. We might give them a discount if it was not offered before. So it goes case by case. There's no hard and fast rule on what we do.
What I'm going to say about that is if that customer is coming back to you, it's because they loved you the first time. You do not have to incentivize them to come back and stay with you. They've already made up their mind. Mm-hmm. So that's my take on it.
Absolutely. Question over here, sir.
How much are admin fees?
How much are admin fees? Our admin fee right now is $20.
We don't charge an admin fee. 35 over here. Do I hear 50? Do I hear 100? Yeah. How much? 15? $15?
How much? 15?
50.
Yeah. I would look, if you're in a market, I would look and see what your comps are doing. If you're in a market with a lot of the REITs, public storage and extra space right now are $22, $25, $27. If they're getting it, you know what? Why shouldn't you? Question.
Are you talking about a monthly admin fee or a
One-time admin fee to execute the lease to rent the unit.
We're going to take one more. He's asking if we're tracking referrals. Yes, our software, every time we have a referral, there's a way to put that in there so we can see it. And like I said, with the gift cards or even with the credits, you can run those reports. Gift cards, you want to track those. Those would go into expenses with your petty cash. If you're not tracking those, you should be. But like I said, we're just now having to get back and do this again. It's just crazy. I really want to thank you guys so much for
Yes.
joining us this morning. If you enjoy the show.
Thank you all.
Thank you.